So, as you're probably aware, there's another video going up today. I tried getting the other video out, but apparently, when I was at Walmart, the Wi-Fi cut off so that I couldn't finish the stream. Just to explain what I was talking about in the video. A while stream, my bad. It's still a video nonetheless. I might take it, actually, scratch that. I'm going to take it down. Video had 11 views, but here's the issue. There was no audio. The main reason that being is it actually picked up something in my car and YouTube caught that copyright. So good job for them. I'll take the video down. All they did is what Twitch did, where they got rid of the volume because it was a live stream. So I thank YouTube for being on the ball with that one, because clearly I wasn't this time. So we're going to completely get rid of that. I'm not doing the intro for this one. A simple fact of, doesn't need one. But, thing is, there was no audio, and I went on for 11 minutes. Some people might have heard the entire thing, so they know what I was talking about. And other people went and tuned in, and they might be like, well, what the hell? What the hell just happened about this? I don't understand. Why is there no audio? Now, the reason why I put fixed audio in here is because I'm going to talk a lot more about it in this one than I did in the other one. I forgot to lock my car. Now it's locked. I don't know why I did that. Just got extremely bright in here extremely fast. But anyways, what I was talking about in that video was my wrestling experience. Now, I wrestled for 4 years. I was in the 110 kilogram weight class. And if you're not sure what weight class that is, that was the heavyweight weight class. Right now, I'm bordering 235 kilograms right now. So I'm a little heavier than I was back then. But I'm a hell of a lot stronger. And I'm a hell of a lot more agile than I was back then. I can get up and down faster and do whatever. But the thing is, when I was wrestling, there was a couple things that I was taught. And this is the first thing about any wrestling. Not talking about professional yet. But the first thing they teach you is how to take a fall. Now, you may be wondering, why is that? Why do they teach you to take a fall? There is a very good reason why they teach you to take a fall. And the reason is actually the best reason. Because when you're wrestling on a mat, on a canvas, it doesn't really matter. Or even if you're just doing it on, what's the thing they do on freestyle? Can't remember what it was. Man, slipped my brain. But anyways, it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, or what is on. Best reason why they teach you how to take a fall first is so you know how to land properly. If you distribute your weight and apply force by slapping, I don't think you've seen that, by slapping when you fall, you're, not only are you I almost said expanding. Expelling the extra energy that would come from the fall, but you are evenly distributing it so it will not be a pain on the back, on the neck, or sorry, back, neck, head, arms, or legs. Now, the reason why they do that is not only so you can land properly without hurting yourself, it's also a key thing. If somebody pushes you and you fall and you know there is something that you could potentially kill yourself on behind, it's so you're ready to brace for the impact so you can stop yourself just in time before your head hits that cement or your neck hits that rock. It's pretty much just in preparation for life in general. When somebody knocks you down, you got to know how to land and get up on your own 2 feet. So essentially, that's life lesson number 1 that they teach in wrestling, is how to get knocked down, get back up again. Second thing during my wrestling experiences is you won't necessarily always be the best. There will always be somebody that is better than you. There's nobody who's beat everybody and won every single match. The guy that I was competing against, that was the gold medalist at the time. Geez, when I first wrestled him, he was in grade 11. I was in grade 6. So, that was great. There was that. Then there was grade 7. I wrestled him again. It was his final year. And I remember getting picked up and then slammed right down onto the mat. And these mats that they use for wrestling, I believe what we were doing was Greco-Roman wrestling. So the mats are about yay thick. That's how thick the mat is that you have to land on. Now you may be staring at the screen going, I think he means about an inch. Yes, I mean it's literally an inch of mat. And it's a hard mat. It is not soft. When you fall and you hit that mat, you're going to feel it. And when you feel it, if your adrenaline's not pumping, you're going to hit the mat and you're going to be going, ow, for at least a good 5-10 minutes. I was lucky I knew how to take the fall. I went and I slammed my arms on the mat. My coach seen me do it. I maybe spent a couple of seconds regaining my breath because I had the wind knocked right out of me. I got back up because of adrenaline and said, yeah, I'm fine. Let's go. I believe that match I got outpointed. I'm pretty sure that's the one that he outpointed me on. But later on during that same year, actually no, that was in December. It was around Christmas time. January was the Kelly Road Tournament. I versed him again. I almost won 1 round against him. But the moral of it is hip placement, knowing how to take a fall. And that's the sort of thing that they teach you in anything in wrestling, is you need to be ready at all times to brace for impact. Now, I even versed guys that did this thing called heavy hands, where they just go like that. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not wrestling. Because, literally, heavy hands is not wrestling. Now, what they do with that is they hit you right there in the shoulder, pop back your shoulder. But the thing is the person I was wrestling, he would only do heavy hands. And, of course, I was at the disadvantage because I wasn't as strong in grade 6 and 7. So I'd be constantly pushed back because I could not take the force. Then they're like, well, you got to drop down. I would drop down and the guy would still hit me with it. And I'm like, no, this is clearly not going to work. So there are people that do the heavy hand. It's not illegal. Is it legal? Yes. Is it illegal? No. But what is illegal of the heavy hand is where they place it. If it's the shoulder, they're allowed to put your hand on your shoulder and pop it back like that. Not dislocate it. Like grab it and reef on it and dislocate it. They're allowed to go like that. Push it back. Now, I'm not sure if I can actually show this correctly or not. Jeez. Phone's not even running. But anyways, when they're doing that, they pop the shoulder back. Your shoulder goes like that. Generally, this leg comes forward. They grab it, and they got more than 2 choices. They got the pick, which is they pick this leg, which is the easiest one because now it's exposed. Your shoulder's back here because you weren't ready for it. They pick you up, and they can do any which throw they choose to do. I realize you can't see my head right now, but they choose what throw they want to do, whether it's throwing you, a single leg throw, single leg takedown, or I think the other one was actually a fireman's carry that they do use even in professional sports. Now, here's the thing about the fireman's carry. It is technically legal in any form of wrestling, but the thing is you're really not supposed to suplex the person off of it. Now, even if you're watching professional wrestling, you will see that you're not literally allowed fireman carrying and then going like that. Number one reason being why is because that person is sending you on your head. Number two, when you are doing it in Greco-Roman, generally you are not allowed standing. Now, if you're competing for the Olympics, or I believe it was provincials, you're allowed doing what they call a standing fireman's carry, which essentially you are down in a squatting position. You pick person up, you throw them. Now, the strange part about when you're picking them up is you're not going to evenly distribute their weight. So generally, you're going to find yourself top end heavy, so you might collapse. But if you've done your squats, generally you can pick that person up with ease, throw them. But the thing is, once again, you're not allowed throwing them on their head. If you throw them on your head, it's either A, disqualification for any wrestling really, B, intent to harm, which is an automatic red card, or yellow, depending on which person you actually have that's extremely pissed that day. Or number three is they do what they consider throwing in the towel, which means they consider it dangerous. You have to stop that. They'll have a talk with you. And if they decided to end the match, you have to literally go and apologize. Now, I've actually seen that happen when I was wrestling in grade 7. A guy that was on my team back then actually picked up somebody and did that to him. He got in a lot of crap for that. He didn't realize what he did at the time was wrong, and we're going, no, he's going to do it, don't do it. And we were sitting in the seats at Prince Rupert during the BC Winter Games, and we're all staring at him going, Nathan, don't do it. And Nathan just picks him up, suplexes him, and we're like, no. That is the worst thing you could have possibly done. That person just completely hit the mat, knocked the wind right out of him. Nathan not only lost that match because of that, but he also had to go and apologize to the coach, to the person he did it to, and then to the ref, and then to the people that were doing the scorekeeping. He had to apologize for that. Now, when you're doing Greco-Roman, generally, there's a lot of apologizing that goes on, not just because you're Canadian or whatever. But the reason being is because the first thing they teach you is still how to do stuff safely. They teach you how to do the ankle picks. They teach you how to do single leg takedowns, double leg takedowns, which by the way hurt a hell of a lot more than they seem to on TV. And the most ridiculous thing is when you see people wrestling on TV during the professional sports, you go, oh well, all this stuff is fake, it's all scripted. But the thing is yes, it can seem fake and or scripted, but it takes a hell of a lot of strength to do half the stuff they do safely and properly. Now, if you see Brock Lesnar's F5 or John Cena's throw, John Cena's throw, once again, is actually a variation of the fireman's carry. But what Cena does is he goes like that. He makes sure he's in a motion so that the person lands on their back. Once again, not on their head, so he doesn't go like this. He goes up, over, and they literally throw themselves over too to help propel themselves so they don't get injured. It may seem like, oh, well, he's obviously doing that because he doesn't want to actually go and do it himself. No, that's not the case. He is actually doing it to help not only the person he's up against, but to help him himself. The reason why I say he's helping himself is because when you're getting thrown like that, the last thing you have on your mind is, oh shit, am I going to die? That's the last thing you think of at that point in time. You're just thinking, okay, well, I'm getting thrown. I need to help make sure that I don't actually land on my head. So they help propel themselves to that point. Just like the suicide dives you see on TV, they're a hell of a lot more dangerous than they seem to be. Mainly because that is literally a trust exercise, which they do in wrestling, Greco-Roman, and freestyle wrestling, is they literally have us doing trust falls to make sure we land on the ground, we land properly. But these guys take it to the extreme. Generally, they're up about 4, maybe 5 feet in the air, and they dive through the ropes, and they're diving head first. That's where the trust fall comes in, because you're relying on the other guy to catch you and take the fall properly so that A, he doesn't get hurt, B, you don't get hurt, and C, you can potentially land on your feet and he can actually get on his feet in a little bit after having the wind knocked out of himself for doing such a thing. Now, during my experience while wrestling, I'd been thrown a lot. I had been rolled around to the point where I almost wanted to puke. By the way, that was also against that gold medalist where he was rolling me around and my head started spinning. And I was going, I don't feel good that entire time. The funny story about that is that entire Kelly, the first time I was at Kelly Road for a wrestling tournament, I was wearing my dad's Ginch. So that was the funniest part about it. I'm going, I really don't feel good. I really don't want to wrestle. And my coach is just staring at me and going, what the hell's wrong with him? And then he calls Connor. Connor's like, what's wrong with you? And I went, my gut, it hurts. Then we looked at myself. Well, I looked at myself. He didn't. And I was like, oh, no. I could not have done anything worse. I was wearing my dad's Ginch, and it was like pinching the blood flow going to my legs. And it was starting to make me sick. I took it off. I was fine. I put on my singlet and I went, okay, well, I'm ready to go now. And Randy's like, what the hell? That was a quick recovery. So Connor goes out loud in front of everybody and starts telling the story. Oh, he was wearing his dad's Ginch. And I'm like, oh, God. I'm never going to let that one go. I seen Randy a couple of years ago. And we literally had that conversation with my brother about how I felt sick. And then I was like, no, I don't feel good. I don't want to wrestle because I feel like I'm going to puke my guts out. Then he told my brother, and he's like, yeah, he was wearing his dad's Ginch. And I'm like, yeah, I was. And I paid the price. It really hurt. Like, my body wasn't turning purple or anything, but my body just felt like absolute trash. I think the most ridiculous thing I did while I was wrestling, though, is getting stuck trying to do a single leg takedown. Now, that was terrible for me, but funny for everybody watching. All you see is this big-ass grade 7er hugging this frickin' teenager's leg, going like this, trying to throw him in any which way, because I was down on one knee, had one knee up, and trying to throw him. It wasn't working, so I went down to 2 knees, and I'm literally just hugging his leg like a little 2-year-old. I'm like, no. I seen it on camera afterwards, and I'm like, yep. Big-ass 2-year-old hugging a guy's leg. Oh, that was great. But literally, when you're wrestling, there's quite a few things that a person has to pay attention to. A, what am I going to do? B, how can I do it safely? C, how can I not injure myself? Now, sometimes injuries do occur, like in professional wrestling, where the simplest thing can go wrong. That's mainly because one person actually did something incorrectly. For example, say you're doing a double leg takedown, Greco-Roman, and the person, rather than going like that, puts their arms behind them like that and lands. generally that person is either going to dislocate a shoulder or they are going to break something. Generally, when you go like that and you're bracing yourself like that, that's generally when you're going to give yourself whiplash. I have thumb injuries, leg injury, and there was a couple of more that I actually had while wrestling. I didn't break anything, I didn't dislocate anything, but I did pay a toll on my body. The night that Nathan did that suplex and the night that I got literally dropped and the wind knocked out of me, later that night they decided they were going to a party. So, that was ridiculous. Nathan, the guy who suplexed that kid, was downstairs chucking water bottles at everybody. That was the funniest part of the night. And he also got in crap for trying to take his shirt off, doing the strangest dance I have ever seen in my life. And there was a bunch of them trying to join him up on the bleachers and do the same thing. Essentially, all he was doing was standing there going like this, up and down repeatedly. That's literally what this guy was doing on the bleachers and then going and trying to take his shirt off at the same time. So you can imagine what everything was going through security guard's head. Do I suggest a person goes wrestling? I do suggest it if you are a competitive person or if you want to learn something in self-defense. That way you can learn to even actually do judo throws. Because when a person's doing heavy hands, like I pointed out, they hit your shoulder, you're actually allowed wrapping your arms around the shoulder, doing a judo throw. It's not recommended, but you are allowed doing that. I believe what they call it is a drag takedown. Not entirely sure about the terminology there because I haven't wrestled in a long time. I've been to a couple of wrestling practices since then. I can keep up with these guys, but thing is when you're one weight compared to another, everything's different. You learn everything new again. And also, welcome to the stream. When you're learning everything new about wrestling again, it's kind of strange. Mainly for the simple fact of you're familiar with what you're trying to do, but then you're trying to go back in your memory and go, well, was I supposed to grab this? Was I supposed to go and pull their leg? Or was I actually supposed to try and roll them and flip them? Now, I ended up in practice against my uncle, and my uncle is one of the people that raised his sons to be highly competitive, and that's the reason why I kind of had an issue with a couple of them, is because of said reason. But it's literally, then again, it's like, well, I'm doing this not only to keep myself in shape, but I'm also doing this to prepare myself in such an event that somebody actually comes in and tries to attack me so I know how to defend myself. But that's literally all wrestling is it's like a game of chess. Even professional wrestling. You can have all the best pieces and still end up losing. The best thing that I can give as an example from professional wrestling is when you see them doing those fake punches. That is exactly what heavy hands is, except for the difference with heavy hands is they're actually popping your shoulder back. Where they're popping your shoulder back, you can feel that pop, and sometimes you can even hear that pop, and when you hear that pop, it's even worse because it is so distracting. I mean, I've been hit by it so many times that I can't even count it anymore. But it's overall ridiculous to even think about. And pretty much when I was wrestling, the only medals I got were pity medals. The last medal that I earned in grade 7, I actually earned on my own. It was a gold medal, and I actually beat both people that I was wrestling. I think they were actually going easy on me, but let's not get into specifics. But I remember the funniest thing about wrestling Jordy. When I was wrestling Jordy eventually gave up, and Jordy's like, no, I just want to be pinned. So he's laying there like this, and we're just staring at the ref. Ref is staring over at the door because the fire alarm went off. And Jordy's to the point where he's like, what are we supposed to do? And I just looked at Jordy and I'm like, I don't know. Are we supposed to stand up? Was he scared? I don't think he was scared. If you're talking about the ref, I don't think he was scared. I think he was concerned about what the hell was going on. Jordy, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure Jordy was just to the point where he was like, I'm running out of energy. Because I believe we were already third in. Yeah, we were already in the third, and I'm pretty sure we were both running on fumes at that point in time, so Jordy just gave up, and the ref, pretty much staring off in the distance, really did not care about anything that was going on. Does that somewhat answer your question? Not sure which person you were talking about being scared. The ref, Jordy. Wasn't actually a fire there, but it was kind of strange for the fire alarm to go off. Because that happened. The match before that one, I ended up losing my shoe in the middle of it. I did a throw, and I lost my shoe. That was quite funny. I've never thrown a person and ended up going down with them and having my shoe fly off in a totally different direction. Even when they were looking at my shoe, it was perfectly tied and taped, and then all of a sudden it just comes flying off, and I'm like, well, am I supposed to take my shoe, put it back on, or you want me to wrestle in socks now? It's one of those things when you're wrestling, it's completely different than like watching it on TV. Because when you're watching it on TV, you're like, oh, well, they're clearly doing this stuff to help each other. And then when you're doing Greco-Roman, it's like, what the hell am I doing? Am I trying to actually get this done properly, or am I actually trying to win? Because back in the day before I started wrestling, everything was about points. They had a point system. Compared to nowadays, when you're doing your round robins, it's more or less just go in, pin. That's the reason why my cousin Daniel had issues. He never won tournaments because he had the mindset of, I'm going in there, I'm winning. He might have had the highest win rating out of everybody, but he would still not get any gold, any silver, or any bronze. Simple fact of it is they had a point-based system. Versus his brother, who was, okay, I need to do this, I need to get these points, I need to throw him, get the 2 points, go around his back, get the point, push him out, get another point, that sort of thing. It's the entire point system was to the point, pardon my pun, but it was literally to the point where that's the only thing anybody cared about. And I also want to welcome you to the stream, by the way. I know I forgot to say that earlier. But literally, I prefer WWE's approach to their system compared to the way it used to be, which is actually the way it is now, where it is counting pins, it's not counting overall points. If, in case, a tiebreaker does need to occur where there's 2 people that should be getting gold, they will calculate the points and say, okay, well, this person had 10 this round, but then next one they only had 6, and then they won. Versus the person that won everything by points, they'll say, okay, well, person that had 10 points on everything is getting gold. Person that was tied with wins for him will get silver. It's a very odd case where they'll give them both golds. Mainly because when they're doing that, they only hand out 1 gold per person. And 1 silver per person per weight class. Because that's the way they have them made. But the interesting part is they actually are metal. They're not like the fake... what was it that they used? It wasn't plastic. It was, man, it slipped my brain. Yeah, I might think of that later. But these were actually metal. The only thing that wasn't actually what it was supposed to be, like the gold, it was only a gold coloring that they would use on the steel. And then Silver, obviously, they would just go and polish it. Bronze, they'd paint it bronze. Silver, they actually would use a coating of silver on just to make it more shinier. Don't exactly know why they would need to do that, but that's what they decided, hey, we should do this. And I'm thinking, no, you really don't. It was the first medal I ever got. I actually bit into it, so if I ever find that medal again, I'll show you guys. You can literally see my teeth marks in it. Mainly because I scraped some paint off. I didn't actually eat the paint, but I found out it was actually metal. So it was rather cold because it was negative 29 to 33 that night when we were driving back from the tournament. I know it was that cold because when we went to Tim Hortons, everybody was loading up on coffees, and I think the other thing was hot chocolate. There was 3 of us that had hot chocolate, rest of them all had coffee. And I think there was only 3 of them that actually stayed awake on the trip. The rest of us were all passed out in the back. I was awake and I didn't have coffee. Now, I learned to appreciate coffee more. But the thing is, my experience from wrestling kind of translates to professional wrestling. Like, I've grown respect for them over the years because of what they do, and they can do it safely. They have the agility to do it safely as well as the strength, versus us where it's literally just throw the guy, win, leave, and then just sport a medal. That's literally all it is now, compared to actually doing it safely, because there are a lot of kids that actually get injured. By kids, I mean teenagers and actual physical kids. There was one time where I actually seen a kid get completely disqualified from a tournament. Reason being is he literally did a standing fireman's carry. And now, this standing fireman's carry wasn't anything normal. He literally did what he seen John Cena do on TV. He literally went under, picked up the kid, brought him up like this, and then slammed him. And it was like, why? Kid was already winning the match. He could have just easily taken him down, pinned him, because this kid was literally a person that had been wrestling for 5 years versus this kid that had only been wrestling for 1 year and just learned the hard way that you don't want to be picked up and then slammed like that. Now, the kid that his first year was that year, he actually took gold because of the other kid getting disqualified. The other kid did actually get his silver, but moral of the story is you still have to learn to do things properly and safely, even if you're doing Greco-Roman or freestyle. Which, mind you, freestyle actually is a lot different than Greco-Roman, mainly because when you're doing suplexes and stuff, you learn that you actually need to land here, versus Greco-Roman, when you're actually allowed doing it, they generally don't care. They get behind you, they get the 1 point for getting behind the person, then when they slam them, they get the instant 2 points. But the thing is when they're doing that, they do a thing called a bridge. Now, what the bridge essentially is your head goes on the mat without your shoulders touching. I almost messed that up, my bad. Without your shoulders touching the mat. So essentially, you are a wheelbarrow. You got 2 legs that are on the ground, and then your tire is essentially your head. You can use your neck, your head, and that's how you have to keep yourself off of the mat. Now, a lot of people have issues doing that, and they do a thing what they call the teddy bear run. And teddy bear run actually does help for almost anything. Essentially what the teddy bear run is you're literally balancing on your head, and you are running in a circle while on the ground, but balancing on your head. It hurts after a while, but you'll learn to appreciate it. Reason being is because if somebody actually throws you, you can literally just run around them. I've seen it happen. I've had it done to me. I hated it. Do I still like that? No. No, I do not. The planking system is even worse when they're saying, oh, well, get up. And then you have somebody that's like I think it was like 250 pounds, laying on you, and then your coach is screaming at you, get up, get up, get up, and you're going, no, I can't. He's obviously laying on me. Can't you see that? Are you blind? It's one of the moments where they scream that, and then you're going, no, I want to actually do this properly and get up like a normal human being. Even if it means I lose that 1 point for putting my stupid foot over the circle. Which, by the way, is a big no-no. Main reason being is because then the ref generally doesn't see it. I believe since they've changed their ruling now, it's half of your foot has to be in the circle to actually not count as a point loss. But if more than that goes out, then they can count it as a point for the other person. The interesting thing I found about that, though, is if you're literally standing on the white and you're about to step out, the easiest thing to do is literally do what... Can't believe I'm saying this. We've all seen bullfighting, correct? So, the best thing to literally do is stand out of the way, literally help the person push himself out. The funniest time I've seen that is a person actually did that, but he tripped him by accident at the same time. Guy that was trying to stand out of the way actually stood on his shoelace, stood out of the way, fell over, and completely tripped the kid, had the kid land flat on his face. And I believe when the kid landed on his face, he was about 2 to 3 inches off the mat, so he bounced his head off the hardwood floor. It's funny to watch, but it would have sucked to actually receive. I mean, there's a lot of great memories a person can make through wrestling, even watching professional wrestling live. A lot of great memories that a person can make. You can make a lot of great friends that way. But generally, through the experience over the years that I've had, it literally always goes back to the thing I said at the very first part of this stream, was learning how to take a fall, stand back up on your feet. Because they literally will make sure somebody that's bigger and better than you on your team throws you to the ground so that you know, okay, that's how it feels to be thrown. Do you want to be thrown? If your answer is no, and you're smart and you say no, then first thing the coach says, lower your hips. By lower the hips, they mean drop your hips, so now I'm no longer standing. I got more weight pressed onto my legs. That way, if they go to grab me, I can at least put a foot back faster than I could regularly standing up to make sure that person's not going to throw me. Only thing they might do is knock you off balance with the heavy hands. Generally, if the person's doing heavy hands while you drop your hips, they're generally a dick. The reason why I say that is not only are they sending you falling over, but the other thing is your foot can always come up and give them a straight kick right in the family jewels. I've seen a lot of stuff wrestling. There's a lot of stuff I wish I hadn't seen, and a lot of stuff that I wish I did see, but wasn't there at the tournaments for. But overall, if you guys want to go and actually see what it's like to wrestling, I strongly suggest you go and watch a practice or two. Because guaranteed, they're literally going to show planks. And if you're a first-time wrestler, they will show you how to take a fall. So how my coach showed me was literally having somebody pick me up, throw me. Now, I was in grade 6 when that happened. So you can imagine a little grade 6er against somebody that is about grade 10, 11, or 12 being picked up and thrown halfway across a room, trying to teach them the valuable lesson of learning to take a fall. Now, it's literally not going, well, we need money, so we want you to take the fall for that. No, it's not that kind of thing. It's literally, we want you to make sure you don't get hurt. So if you easily go and distribute your weight, slam, generally the only thing you're going to be feeling is a little bit of soreness in your hands. Mainly because when you're slapping, you'll hear that crack or that bang when you hit the mat. Once again, it's only like an inch thick. So, it's not a whole lot of padding for you to land on. But the thing is when you're watching professional wrestling, they actually have some steel beams that go across for support. They have ones that go like that. They also have some that go like this and like this. Reason being is they want to make sure that it doesn't collapse. Now, if they're doing a skit where it has to collapse, generally they are going to play it off like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. But the truth is they took away a couple of the supports. So they were literally practicing the night before. Okay, so when you fall down, you need to make sure you hit this spot in just the right place, and they'll probably put a piece of paper and a marker on it so that the person knows, okay, when I'm falling, I have to land here. Make sure either my leg or my arm hits there. Ring will implode. I'm okay. Everybody else is okay. The only person that might be in for a little bit of a shock might be the ref, because generally he's standing. He's not going to be prepared for it. Because most of the refs, they don't actually go and tell them that, oh, hey, guess what? So-and-so got stick. We need you to go out there and help him. They don't do that. Not even in professional wrestling. So they go out there, and then all of a sudden the mat gives out, and then you see the one guy hit his face. And then it's like, was that scripted, or is he actually bleeding right now? Chances are that guy's actually bleeding, and he has the wind knocked out of him. So when you roll him over, he's going to be absolutely cold-cocked and out cold. I've seen people get cold-cocked before. It's not fun to have happen to you. It's not fun to witness. But it can be funny at times, especially when it's self-inflicted. There was a guy during my last year of wrestling, which was grade 9, and this was about, what's this, 2018. This was not 5 years ago. This was about 6 years ago. This kid literally knocked himself out. Person went, grabbed him in a single leg, threw him on his back. I've never seen somebody's foot do this before, but the person's foot literally came up, kicked himself right between the eyes, knocked himself out. Everybody staring at him going, what the hell happened? And then they seen his mom with the camera, and she was filming the entire thing. She went and slowed down the frame rate on her camera, and you could see his foot literally came up, kicked himself between the eyes, completely knocked himself out. And he was already laying on the mat at that point. And it just happened in a fast enough motion that you couldn't exactly see what happened. You seen his leg come up, but you didn't know why he was actually laying on the ground and completely unconscious. Kid ended up being fine. He returned later to actually come back and win silver. But it was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. I've never seen anybody get cold cocked by their own foot before. I can't even count how many times that they actually tried getting me in trouble on my wrestling team. Mainly because the guys thought it was a great idea to go and play Nicky Nicky Nine Doors and not tell me, and there was somebody chasing me down the street. I just thought the guy was out for a stroll, so I kept on turning wherever the rest of the team was going. Got back to the house, and they're like, why didn't you run? That guy was following you. And I went, oh, is that why he was bugging it? And I think it was an elderly guy because he couldn't catch up to me walking, but still. It was a lot of fun on the Prince Rupert trip, I won't lie. Oh, man. Brings back good memories, and it brings back a lot of bad memories of being thrown. But overall, when I did end up getting my whiplash playing hockey, I actually went and braced myself for getting it. Even though generally when you're wearing that padding, it doesn't exactly help because it brings your shoulders back and keeps your head up, so when your head bounces off the ice, it's 10 times worse than bouncing off of a wrestling mat. And you can imagine why. Concrete and ice versus an inch thick mat. At least the mat has some give. But generally only when you're kneeing into it for a couple of minutes. But other than that, the imprint just goes there. Last couple of minutes goes away. Ice, no. That imprint's there until they decide whenever they want to flood it. I've got lots of sports experience: wrestling, hockey, curling, baseball, even badminton. I hate to even call curling a sport, but I know it is considered a sport. It's the only sport I'm actually good at that I despise with a passion. So, sue me, I guess, would be the best thing to do. But anyways, I can't exactly say too much more about this topic. Mainly because, through my experience, it's like I said in that one video a long time ago during the page one, is I have respect for them. I know how it feels to be thrown. I know how to have something hit you in the back unexpectedly and then literally get whiplash from it. I know how it feels. It hurts. And literally, there's nothing a person can do about it when something hits you unexpectedly. I've almost been decapitated while playing baseball at school, so that was great. It's pretty much boiling right back to anything to do with sports. It all counts at reaction time. And when I was playing high school baseball, I had a bat literally swinging in a full rotation clockwise towards my head. I had one of two options: either duck, run out of the way, or do what I did. And what I chose to do was go the Matrix route. I just went bent over. I can't exactly do that right now because there's a wall behind me. But I bent over, let the Matrix thing take place, and then it went and hit up against the cage. And I just popped back up and I went, I'm not standing here anymore. Can't really blame a guy. But generally, there are a lot of scary things that happen in wrestling, and even in professional wrestling, any sport really. There can be freak accidents. And I actually come from a lineage of family members that have professional wrestling family members, as well as Greco-Roman and freestyle. So I understand where they're coming from when they put in this work and dedication to a certain sport, when they're weightlifting. Generally, the professional wrestlers need to be fit, agile. They need to make sure that they have the endurance to do everything that they need to do. But after a while, it still puts wear and tear on your body. So generally, when you hit your 50s, like Sting, you're not going to be expecting a buckle bomb to not have any everlasting effects on you, because guaranteed it's going to hurt. So anyways, I hope you guys like this live stream. I know this is rather longer than what I normally do. I was only talking about I don't know what he's talking about. Generally, they only last about 30 minutes, but I realize this one is a little bit longer. What I can say, though, is next wrestling practice that I go to, I'll make sure I actually take you guys with me, and we will do a live practice. Generally, practices are an hour to 2 hours long. Generally an hour, give or take. So we'll literally post that video. We'll do it live at the same time so you can see what it's like at a wrestling practice. Generally, my uncle's approach isn't the same as what my coach's was. So generally, you'll see him running around for the first 5-10 minutes. And then after that, then they'll actually get into actual technique and that sort of thing. But anyways, that's the thought for another video, another day. But I want to say thank you guys for joining the stream. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. I've seen that pop up. Thanks for leaving the comments as well on the stream. And as always, I hope you're having a fantastic 2018. And if you're not, I hope it gets better for you.